Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. Thanks for joining us here live on Information Radio on CBC. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app, on YouTube, Friday, and a busy Friday before the holidays really kick into gear, right? And last day of school for a lot of students out there, if you're not already off. In Winnipeg, we're going to have a sunny day today and becoming a mix of sun and cloud around noon, and our high today is going to be minus 18. We are starting our day with minus 19 degrees. We're actually the warm spot in the province. And the cold spot in the province is Lynn Lake, which is minus 36. Brrr. All right, let's say good morning to the team. Hello, Corey Funk. Corey directs the show and will be covering the commute on air. Good morning, Abby Adeyemi, who's behind the controls of the program today. Our technical producer, Abby, also covers the weather on the air. Kevin Nipatebo is here. Kevin makes us all look good on YouTube. He's our producer there if you watch. And let's go to Heather Wells. She is in our news center. She has news headlines and updates on current stories. Hi there.
Good morning. Well, Manitoba has confirmed its first case of avian flu in 2024. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says the disease was detected at a commercial poultry operation in Portersville Prairie last month. We'll hear more about that. And Brandon police can now detain more than twice as many prisoners in their expanded jail. Brandon's mayor, Jeff Fawcett, says the new space will help with overall community safety. We'll take you to Brandon coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
All right, thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Well, continued slickness out there because of the conditions, so just be careful, and especially on the highways, check 511 before you go. This morning on the program, Heather just mentioned the first case of bird flu in Manitoba. We're going to dig into this in a wider way. Right after World Report, California, as you may know, has declared a state of emergency because of growing concerns over bird flu. So we'll get the latest on that developing situation and also in context of what's happening in our province. Coming up at 6:20, what started with a pair of cleats has become so much more. We're going to learn how one Winnipeg woman became what's known as a flag football angel in our community. So she will be live in studio. And then Santa's soon going to be making his rounds. We're going to hear from some 4-year-olds about what they asked for Santa this year. I always love hearing the cute voices at this time of year. So stay tuned for all of that. And then to a serious story in our second hour, we're going to hear from a student, a grade 10 student from Shaftesbury High School, about how the Pembina Trails School Division being hacked has impacted him. So we're going to build on some of the stories in the news as well. Right now, though, World Report.
Today on Q with Tom Power.
If you were in your high school play and it was something like Guys and Dolls or Oklahoma, well, for Robert Eggers, he staged a theater version of the 1922 Dracula film Nosferatu. Robert's achieved his dream and has made a film remake of that classic horror film. He'll be here to tell you all about it.
I'm ready.
That's coming up on Q, followed by Commotion with Elamine Abdelmahmoud on CBC Radio 1, the CBC Listen app, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. What a week it's been in Ottawa, and even though it's the Friday before the holidays, things aren't slowing down. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's major cabinet shuffle is going ahead today. We're also waiting to hear from the PM about whether he'll respond to calls for his resignation. Janice McGregor is in our parliamentary bureau. Janice, we know this cabinet shuffle involves 10 different people. The first two names we have are interesting. Tell us about them.
John, David McGuinty, who's expected to be sworn in as Public Safety Minister, he's a very experienced set of political hands. Since 2017, he's served as the first and only to date chair of Parliament's National Security and Intelligence Committee. Now he's taking over as the minister responsible for Canada's intelligence agencies mere weeks before Justice Marie-Josée Ugg's final report and recommendations are set to be released. If urgent action is required to act on the findings of that inquiry, it's going to fall to him. Nathaniel, or Nate Erskine-Smith, was elected in his Toronto riding as part of the class of 2015, and he gained a reputation as a bit of a rebel, not always falling in line with the rest of the Liberal caucus. He ran unsuccessfully for the leadership of the Ontario Liberal Party last year, and on the heels of that, he'd suggested he wouldn't run again federally because it was taking a toll on his family. But when rumors began circulating about him being offered the critical housing portfolio if he'd changed his mind, he said this about joining cabinet.
If you reflect on, what difference you're able to make in a substantial role on an important issue that affects so many Canadians, maybe there's a better balance there.
So Janice, normally a substantial cabinet shuffle tells us about the Prime Minister's vision for the future. But today, this Prime Minister's future is very much in doubt.
Indeed. Veteran MP John McKay has worked with and for Justin Trudeau for over a decade, but here's what he told Power and Politics last night about the decisions the Prime Minister's making.
His perception after 50 years of living in a political aristocratic bubble is different than the reality that you and I live in. It enables him to do extraordinary things, but it also leaves a bit of a blind spot. So where others might see peril, he sees opportunity.
The Prime Minister may not say anything at all to reporters today, but today's cabinet choices may be carefully scrutinized for any signals about where things are heading.
Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
And you can tune in to CBC Radio for live coverage of the Trudeau government cabinet shuffle today at 12 noon Eastern. Join the CBC's Tom Harrington and Catherine Cullen from the House for analysis on CBC Radio or stream it live from the CBC News app. The U.S. Congress is facing a midnight deadline to avoid a government shutdown.
Two-thirds not being in the affirmative, the rules are not suspended and the bill is not passed.
A revised spending plan endorsed by Donald Trump failed to reach the votes needed to pass the House of Representatives last night. The president-elect and Elon Musk derailed an earlier deal the Republican House Speaker had struck with Democrats. Without an agreement, many government departments will run out of money tonight. The CBC's Richard Madden is in Washington. Richard, tell us about what happened last night.
Yeah, it's strike two for House Republicans, and this time more than 36 lawmakers in their own party voted against a plan to keep the government open until next spring that was backed by incoming President Donald Trump. So this means the U.S. is now on the brink of a government shutdown at midnight tonight unless a new deal is reached. Now, you'll recall the initial plan that was agreed upon by both parties was set to pass until Trump and billionaire Elon Musk, who Trump tapped to cut government spending, called it a steal of tax dollars and even threatened Republicans with their political careers if they supported it. So dozens of Republicans got the message and came up with a pared-down version. But that, too, was rejected. So now, frustration is building on both sides of the aisle. Even some Republicans are questioning Musk's growing power in their party. Here's Republican lawmaker Rick McCormick.
Last time I checked, Elon Musk doesn't have a vote in Congress. Now, he has influence, and he'll put pressure on us to do whatever he thinks the right thing is for him. But I have 760,000 people that voted for me to do the right thing for them, and that's what matters to me.
Now, Trump also wanted Republicans to raise the debt limit. That's the amount of money the government can borrow, but that was rejected by hardline conservatives. So this is causing more chaos and uncertainty 1 month before Trump takes office.
So, Richard, what happens next?
Yeah, that's the multi-billion-dollar question. Lawmakers literally have just hours to come up with a new spending plan, or it's lights off at 12:01. This would prevent the government from paying its bills, including paying millions of federal workers right before the Christmas break. So the clock is ticking for them to reach a deal.
Richard Madden in Washington. Thanks, Richard.
You bet.
U.S. diplomats are making their first formal visit to Syria in more than a decade. A delegation is in Damascus meeting with the country's new de facto rulers. The rebel group HTS has been in charge since overthrowing the Assad regime almost 2 weeks ago. The diplomats are walking a fine line with the group the U.S. still considers a terror organization. Crystal Gumensing reports.
The issue of the next Syrian presidency is still a premature topic for discussion, says Ahmed al-Shara, the head of the militant group who used to go by the name Abu Muhammad al-Julani. In an interview this week with the BBC, he laid out his hopes for Syria, saying power will not be in the hands of one person, but committees chosen by the people. In the capital today, 3 American diplomats who could pave the way for HTS to be delisted as a terror group, lift sanctions, and for aid to flow to rebuild the war-ravaged nation. The U.S. State Department says they will be meeting with Syrians to hear their vision for the country. Part of the mission is also to gain information on an American journalist, Austin Tice. He went missing 12 years ago during the rule of now-deposed dictator Bashar al-Assad. Since seizing control of the country, Al-Shara has been sitting down with Western reporters and meeting with international leaders. He's on a PR offensive to persuade the West Syria can be a trusted partner. Geir Pedersen is the UN Special Envoy to Syria.
It is the importance of making sure that we have a political transition that will be credible, inclusive, and include the broadest range of the Syrian society.
Pedersen says humanitarian support is urgently needed, and he is optimistic sanctions can be lifted. What comes of the American visit will inform the actions of other international leaders. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, London.
Back to Canada, where the federal government is expected to make an offer today in a landmark case involving First Nations on the northern shore of Lake Superior. It's a familiar issue for many such communities across the country. The 1850 Robinson Treaty promised annual payments from the Crown in exchange for the right to extract resources from their land. But for the last 150 years, they've only been paid $4 per person. Aya4 reports.
We will not accept the lowball offer.
Like the members of her First Nation, Michipi Cotton Chief Patricia Tangi is anxious to reach a deal with Ontario and Canada. She wants to end this legal battle over fair annuities that has now spanned more than 2 decades. At the center of the case is a promise that annual payments to the First Nations would increase over time, but they've been capped at $4 per person per year since 1874. If the settlement offers don't live up to the dozens of billions of dollars Robinson Superior Treaty Anishinaabeg expect, the matter will return before the courts. A scenario that wouldn't be good news for the Crowns, according to Brian Gover, one of the lawyers for the First Nations.
Ontario is risking an award from the court that would be higher by not negotiating.
Ontario argues it actually lost $11 billion by building infrastructure across Robinson Superior territory, while First Nations say the government made up to $193 billion through 174 years of mining, fishing, and logging. The provincial and federal governments will only say negotiations are confidential. Aya4, CBC News, Sudbury.
And finally, in London last night. The crowd at the O2 Arena wasn't going wild for the headliner, Sir Paul McCartney, but for the other surviving Beatle, Ringo Starr, who was walking on stage.
Should we rock? You only rock. Okay, get on your kid, la.
So Ringo got behind the drum kit, and they all break out into a rendition of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and then Helter Skelter. Well, it was the last night of McCartney's tour, which saw the 82-year-old play in France, Spain, and Brazil. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
I think Northcott likes rock music. If you listen to when he fills in, and often on Friday, right? He's guest hosting World Report, or he takes over the mic, rather. We often get a rock music kicker. I like that. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're listening to CBC's Information Radio on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app, and on YouTube. Well, coming up this hour on the program, cases of H5N1 bird flu are on the rise in the United States, with the first severe case reported this week in Louisiana. California has declared a state of emergency because of bird flu, and we're about to hear about a Manitoba story around it as well. So we're going to look at this half hour on the program. Also, what started with a pair of cleats has become so much more. We're going to meet Winnipeg's flag football angel. And then coming up a little bit later at 10 to 7, today is the day, as you've been hearing, when the Prime Minister will shuffle his cabinet. We're going to hear from Ryan Tumulty, a political reporter from the Toronto Star, who is going to tell us all about it. And we could see some Manitobans factored into that shuffle as well. So Manitoba MP Terry Duguid's name, as you might know and might have read, is being one that's being mentioned. So we'll get that analysis through a local lens as well. All right, let's go to Heather Wells. Speaking of local, she has your news headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, the effects of a cyber attack at Pembina Trail School Division continue taking a toll on teachers and students alike. One teacher tells CBC most schools in the division have no internet whatsoever, and staff have lost access to files, lesson plans, and tools for assessing students. We'll hear more coming up. Brandon police say they are sounding the alarm on a toxic drug supply in the western Manitoba city. They say overdose deaths have doubled since 2022, when there were 3 deaths, to 7 so far in 2024. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 6:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
I remember being in Brandon a couple of years ago, actually a number of years ago now, where we were doing a series there. Today we do Communities in Focus. At the time we called it Urban Myths, kind of a similar series. But we were out there, and at that time people were raising concerns, saying we really fear what's going to happen in the future with people's challenges with drugs and how they're getting into our community. And some people talking about what their thoughts were. There were groups then forming, worrying about this. So here we are. It is 6:12 a.m. on 89.3 FM. It's time to get into our Friday morning weather and traffic. Hi, Corey Funk.
Hello.
Good morning. Hi, Abby Adiyemi.
Good morning.
Okay, so what do we have for the weather, Abby?
It's going to be another cold day, though it's going to be clear, but it will be cold, and we will see some clouds roll in the afternoon period. The wind chills are still something that will be affecting most of the regions today, and I can use the word dangerously cold. And even as you get to the northern part of the province, it gets even colder. So frostbite will be a risk in all the regions. But right now in Winnipeg, we are at minus 19. A sunny start to the day. We'll see a transition to a mix of sun and clouds later. Light winds will come. Highs of around minus 18. But the wind chill for the city today will be around minus 37, minus 35, 37, close to the 40s. So you want to take care if you're making the transition from one bus to another or spending time outside, because this means frostbite in minutes. And it's similar conditions in the central region and Westman all the way down to the Interlake region. We're looking at frostbite in the range of minus 37, 38. And then the northern part of the province is seeing like the wind chill in the range of minus 41 already.
All right, Abby, thank you.
Thank you.
Corey Funk, the commute.
Yeah, so far things are looking surprisingly good. I was looking at Manitoba 511 and it's like, whoa, highways are good, but that doesn't mean they're not slick. So just heads up, do be careful out there. And if you see something going on, if you're walking, biking, driving, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. I'll let folks know what you're seeing out there. That number 204-788-3093.
So let's revisit some developing news that Heather was mentioning. Manitoba has confirmed its first case of avian flu in 2024. So the Canadian Food Inspection Agency says the disease was detected at a commercial poultry operation in Portage la Prairie last month. Similar cases have been recorded since 2022. And the virus, of course, known as H5N1, is highly transmissible among domestic birds, but it has also spread to mammals. And among people, the Public Agency of Canada says the risk is higher for those who have unprotected exposure to infected animals. So a primary control zone has been set in the area where the disease was detected. So I'm reading directly from our news this morning, and Heather will have more through the morning as we come to understand this. This just developed yesterday, by the way, but let's look at what's happening elsewhere in North America. So up first, we're going to look at what's happening in California, because they've declared a state of emergency over bird flu or avian influenza. Since spring there have been 61 cases of humans catching the virus, with more than half of those happening in California specifically. So it's also spread, though, to dairy cows in southern parts of the state. And it has been a concern, as I alluded to, here across Canada and now in Manitoba. Andrew Lang is our guest to start the show this morning. He's a professor in the Department of Biology at Memorial University. Good morning.
Good morning.
So is this behaving differently than in previous years when we've had bird flu? Like, why did California declare their state of emergency?
Well, as you mentioned, they have had more than half of all of the cases in the United States have been in that one state, so over 30. And they have, by last count, more than 300 different herds of dairy cattle where the virus has been detected. So clearly things are out of control. And so compared to previous years, the big change this year is in addition to impacting poultry operations and wild birds, we have this rampant infection in dairy cattle in the United States.
Why has that change happened? Are scientists still studying that?
It's not exactly understood, but it's believed that essentially there was one initial transmission into dairy cattle, and then all the subsequent cases have been spread among dairy cattle. So it's not that it's repeatedly happening over and over again. It's just transmitting among the cattle. And it's also been facilitated by the practices in that country where they move dairy cattle around over the year.
Now, we have done some interviews, obviously, leading up to this before its presence in Canada and in Manitoba, in our province where we live. But is it correct that it cannot, if it's spread to a dairy cow, that it can't spread to the milk supply, or we don't believe it spreads to the milk supply?
Oh, it is definitively in the milk supply in the United States. So it's been detected in milk, commercially available milk. If the milk has been pasteurized, the virus, is killed, so it's not actually infectious. But infectious live virus is present in raw milk, so that's a big risk.
How concerned should people be then about this? What should they be concerned about, I guess, specifically, right?
Well, the more this virus circulates in different species, in particular different species of mammals, that gives it the opportunity to evolve and adapt to that particular type of animal. And since we're mammals, if it becomes more adapted to mammals as opposed to birds, then it becomes a bigger risk for us.
Bird flu in Canada, what is happening right now? What does that look like on this late December day?
So the virus is circulating broadly across the country in wild birds. Different strains of the virus are present in different regions of the country. And of course, as you're seeing in Manitoba now, it's affecting poultry operations in many provinces, the worst being British Columbia, but obviously it's in other provinces as well. So it's not a great situation in Canada either right now. It's not as bad as maybe in the U.S. where they have these commercial domesticated mammals being infected, but we still have significant problems here as well.
What are you going to watch for in the coming months?
Well, this virus is extremely unpredictable, so it's really hard to know what might happen. But like I said, the more it continues to circulate in different types of species, the more potential there is for something bad to happen that has more direct ramifications for broad impacts on human health.
We'll leave it there this morning. Andrew, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too. That's Andrew Lang, professor in the Department of Biology at Memorial University. If you want to read more about the case of bird flu that has now been detected in Manitoba, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Manitoba, and we'll have more through the morning on the news.
Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe help to make the season bright. But singing along to Yuletide classics and new holiday favorites is what really makes the holly jolly. CBC Music unwraps the gift of holiday playlists to get you into the festive spirit. From pop to jazz, gospel, folk, blues, classical, country, and so many more. Now available on the CBC Listen app.
6:20, and it's time to pull out the festive tunes. This one kind of reminds me of Abby. There's a sign on the control room door that says "Good vibes only." Kind of what Abby's all about. This tune is from Maya Malkin. She's released a new song, this one. It lays out what she loves about the festive season. The Toronto pop singer says she was inspired to write it because the feeling she gets when she enjoys the holidays with her family is, well, chill. This is Maya Malkin, out to Abby. It's called Chill Christmas with You.
Setting up the Christmas tree, stockings on the mantelpiece, building snowmen in the backyard, making eggnog and butter tarts. Yeah, we're hanging up the mistletoe. Everybody's got that Christmas glow, singing carols on the front steps, season's greetings from the front deck. I'm home for the holidays, stay warm by the fireplace, silk hoops and some Chardonnay. I wanna have a chill Christmas with you, with you. Presents finished with the bow, cider simmers on the stove, sleigh bells ring, staying up late, leave a note out just in case. I'm home for Christmas with you.
Pretty voice, eh? That's Toronto's Maya Malkin with Chill Christmas with You. It is 6:22 a.m. on 89.3 FM, 990 a.m. on the app and YouTube. I'm Marcy Marcusa, and we are getting in the spirit this Friday morning when it comes to the holidays, hearing about, festive music, people's family stories, but also about how charitable people are all year round, but especially this year, pretty special. So every year during the holidays, my next guest, Winnipegger Elizabeth Pimental, hones in on a specific community in need. This year, when she met young flag football players in need of new gear, she didn't hesitate to give them a helping hand. The kids now have a nickname for her, and Elizabeth has a lot of help for them. So she wanted to ensure they had everything they needed to succeed. So she started helping Thrive Community Sports Circle. That's a Winnipeg nonprofit located on Spence Street, and she's here to tell us more about all of this. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. What do the kids call you?
They call me their football angel, is the nickname they gave me.
Their football angel.
Yeah.
Now, all of this giving for you started, I'm just going to hold this up to the camera so people can see, because Elizabeth has brought in some cleats. I heard all this started with cleats. Is that right? So what happened? What motivated you to start giving like this?
So my kids have played football for the last 4 years, and we always keep their cleats because my husband and I coach football and I manage tackle football as well. And I've seen firsthand that sometimes parents can't afford a new pair of cleats because they could cost $250 plus. So we keep them all. So I have 15 pairs of cleats at one time. So I always keep them. This year we got a new team of flag football parents. So I reached out to all of them. One of my kids didn't have parents listed. Instead, he had an inner city youth program instead. So I reached out and said, does your child have cleats ready to play for indoor flag football where we play out of, Axel Werf for the University of Winnipeg? Mm-hmm. Nope, doesn't have. So I said, that's okay. I have used pairs. I'll bring them. Let's get him fitted. And she said, well, I have 8 other players that are going to need cleats as well, if you could help me out. And I said, let's see if I have enough pairs. I was able to fit all the kids except for one kid I couldn't find because he only had he needed size 2, but I was able to find them on Marketplace and purchase them. Found him a pair for $15.
So you've really gone for it to try to make sure all the kids that want to play flag football have cleats.
They all have them.
Yeah. When you said the one kid that needed the size, you held your hands up a little tiny foot.
Little tiny.
How old are these kids?
Youngest kid is age 7.5, turning 8.
Yeah.
And oldest kid is 13.
How much do they enjoy playing flag football?
Oh, they love it. One of the boys, I gave him one of my son's tackle cleats from 2 years ago, and the cleats are signed. Each cleat is signed by a Winnipeg Bomber player that my son got signed. And I showed the player, I said, this one's signed by this Bomber player, this one's signed by that Bomber player. And the boy said, I'm playing with Bomber cleats? And he said, maybe one day I could play CFL football. And I said, I think you can. I think you could be a offense or defensive lineman. Just keep studying hard and keep working hard. But I think one day you could be in the CFL. And he says, thank you. Thank you, my football angel. And it's so cute.
Yeah. What are those moments like for you? They're cute, but also there's something else going on there, right? You have that kid who now is, inspired, it sounds like, in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's heartwarming. Every since I was back young, I've always given, at school, in high school, junior high, I've always joined committees to give. At work, I always tell my coworkers, we always give to the charities.
What motivates you to do that? Does this come from your family, this sort of spirit of giving, when you think about yourself?
My dad came here from Yugoslavia, or former Yugoslavia, now Slovenia. And my dad always gave it to me about give. Me and my husband are not rich by any means. We're a middle class family, just like mostly Winnipeg people.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to this inner city group and I said, you know what, we have a lot of used clothing that my kids don't need anymore. Can I donate them to you? And she said, I can't take them, but reach out to Thrive Community Supports.
Okay, so let's get to that part of the story because that's the bigger part of giving this change now. So you're still doing the cleats, but now I'm holding up clothing. So these are football shorts. So these say Football Manitoba on them, and they're really good for football because you said they don't have pockets, so the kids can't get stuck in them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about this. So Thrive is who you're fundraising for. You learned about them through, I think you said one of the kids, right? When you're giving cleats.
The inner city group that sponsored this child to play football, they told me that they couldn't take any of my donations, but they told me to reach out to Thrive Community Support Circle.
Got it.
And I reached out to them. And I've taken carloads to them since middle of October. I've taken them at least 1 carload a week, sometimes 2 carloads a week.
And is it all shorts, or what are you donating to them?
Everything.
That's helping. Everything.
I've taken high chairs for babies, playpens, nursing pillows, breast pumps, anything from, because I live in Garden City area, so I post in the Maples, Garden City, West Cadolin, River Bend sites.
Mm-hmm.
People come and drop it off at my house. I keep it in my garage. Then once I have enough to fill up my vehicle, I load up my vehicle. Sometimes I could do 2 times a week deliveries to Thrive. Then I go to Thrive and then they come downstairs with wagons. And normally it takes around 14 wagons to unload my vehicle because it's so packed. I can't even see out of the back.
I know news is coming up here, and I don't want to cut our conversation off, so I have 2 important questions. One is, how long are you going to keep doing this? Is this just as long as the need is there for you?
The need is there all year round. It doesn't end at Christmas. Like Thrive needs everything. And they need food, they need clothing, household items.
And if people want to help out and they want to do it through you, do you have a Facebook page, or what should they know?
I just have my personal Facebook page. I haven't made a group yet.
Okay. Well, they can reach out to Thrive.
They could find me on Facebook too, Liz Pimentel.
Okay.
Yeah. Or reach out to Thrive.
Happy holidays, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for what you do in
But remember,
community.
the need never ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really does never end.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here and appreciate what you do in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. That is Winnipegger Elizabeth Pimental, or as she's better known to the flag footballers in town, Football Angel Elizabeth. And this year she's working with Thrive. You can also read more about that organization as well, by the way. 788-3093. It's early in the drive, but if you see any problems, please let us know. You are on CBC This Morning, live in Winnipeg, and your news is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is minus 19 in downtown Winnipeg. And if you head out to the airport, it is colder, minus 24 right now at Winnipeg's airport. It's the last full day of autumn today, and it's a cold one. We'll have an icy high of minus 18 with a risk of frostbite, but it will be sunny. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is closing out a stormy week today with a major overhaul of his cabinet. It is a shuffle that CBC News has learned will involve at least 10 people. Trudeau has to accommodate 2 ministers who stepped down on Monday and a number of others who have previously announced they will not be running in the next election. Meanwhile, Trudeau's future as party leader and prime minister remains the talk of Parliament Hill, with Liberal MPs like John McKay admitting they have no idea what he has in mind.
His perception after 50 years of living in a political aristocratic bubble is different than the reality that you and I live in. It enables him to do extraordinary things, and I think he has done extraordinary things. But it also leaves a bit of a blind spot. So where others might see peril, he sees opportunity.
As for today's swearing in at Rideau Hall, it gets underway at 10:30 this morning Central Time, and CBC Radio's The House will have special coverage of that. The effects of a cyber attack at Pembina Trail School Division continue taking a toll on teachers and students alike. One teacher tells CBC most schools in the division have no internet whatsoever. And staff have lost access to files, lesson plans, and tools for assessing students. Sebastian Kelly is a grade 10 student at Shaftesbury High. He says teachers are doing their best to adapt, and some systems have been restored, but he still feels his education has suffered a setback.
How are we going to finish our work in for more tech-focused classes? How are we going to finish our work? Even some teachers were like, sorry, we can't do nothing today.
The division yesterday revealing the personal information of students as far back as 2014 had been accessed by an unauthorized third party. It says a separate database containing staff payroll information may also have been accessed. Brandon police are sounding the alarm on a toxic drug supply in that western Manitoba city. They say overdose deaths have doubled since 2022, from 3 deaths that year to 7 so far in 2024. Antoinette Gravel-Awalette coordinates a program called Moms Stop the Harm Stronger Together. She says there has been a pattern of deaths linked to drug toxicity in Brandon in the last couple of years. And she wants to see the community take a new approach to keeping people safe.
We're not going to police our way out of this as much as the city continues to put more money into policing. If that's not working, we need to look at strategies that will work and how to shift that from a punitive justice issue back into a health issue.
Gravel-Awalette says more resources are needed to help lower overdoses, and she wants to see access to a safer supply and safe consumption site in Brandon. Manitoba's confirmed its first case of avian flu in 2024. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says the disease was detected at a commercial poultry operation in Portage La Prairie last month. Similar cases have been recorded since 2022. The virus, also known as H5N1, is highly transmissible among domestic birds, but it also has spread to mammals. Among people, the Public Health Agency of Canada says the risk is higher for those who have unprotected exposure to infected animals. Brandon police can now detain more than twice as many prisoners in their expanded jail. The 2-year-long construction project saw 17 cells added to Brandon Police headquarters. Brandon's mayor, Jeff Fawcett, says the new space will help with overall community safety. It has a paramedic on staff, and Fawcett thinks that could help cut down on first responder times.
That will eliminate a lot of the emergency room stays, where we have 2 police officers with somebody in there has to wait, and they can be in there for quite some time. Now we'll be able to bring them here. The paramedic is able to take care of that, and our staff sergeants get back out onto the road.
The province provided $8.6 million to the project. The city of Brandon will be paying operational costs. The expanded centre fully opened last week, but police have been using those new cells since September. You can find more news updated throughout the day on CBC Radio. Listen to us right here on CBC Radio. Head to our website as well, cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right. Thanks, Heather Wells.
You're welcome. It's Friday.
Do you know what? I can't even sometimes say all of the places where we are now. Like, I had to learn how to say it quickly because, I got to get a lot in.
Well, lots of websites. And you have lots of phone numbers.
I know. Yeah, there are a lot of phone numbers. Still, sometimes we'll be like, how many years have I worked here? And I'll get the traffic line right or wrong, rather. So that's Corey's job now. So thank goodness.
Still, that one number is tough for me, too.
You know why? Because the live line to win stuff is one number different from it. And the listener line's one number different from my desk. Like, there's all kinds of things going on here. How can we be expected to keep it all straight? Abby Yemi has your regional forecast now. Let's look at what the weather's doing this Friday morning. Hey there.
Hi there, we're looking at a cold day. It's going to be cold across the province. Let's start from Winnipeg here, -19, clear outside. We should see a sunny start to the day. Then that will turn to partly cloudy conditions by the noon period with some light winds. Our high would be around -18. However, the wind chill is something you need to take into consideration today. It's going to feel like -37 this morning, so you want to prepare for that. There's a risk of frostbite in play. Heading west to Brandon, -27 at this time under clear conditions. Also, the Westman region will see more clouds roll in this morning. Breezy conditions from the southeast, and then you get to a high of -12. Also, we're talking about the wind chill for that part of the province. It's going to be feeling like -37 this morning. Similar conditions in the south central region. We're seeing temperatures around -25 this morning, and the wind chill feeling feeling like minus 37. For Dauphin, it is currently minus 29. The Parkland region will see clear conditions this morning, some sunny breaks here and there. The wind chill is going to feel like minus 34 this morning. Gimli is at minus 25. For the Interlake region today, we should see some sunny conditions transition into a mix of sun and clouds later. We're going to see highs around minus 18, though the wind chill feels like minus 32 this morning. Frostbite remains high, so you want to take care if you are in that part of the province. Heading a bit wet north now. The Pamphlet Flow, we're looking at temperatures around minus 31. The high would get to minus 22 today, though the wind chill feels like minus 34 this morning. If we look at conditions in Thompson, currently at minus 29 for regions around Thompson. Plenty of sunshine in the forecast today. The high would get to minus 23, though the wind chill makes it feel like minus 37 this morning. And then we're going closer to the part of the province that really feels the coldest for me. Minus 25 in Churchill at this time with drifting snow seen in that region. Expect partly cloudless skies and sunshine arriving later in the day. Some breezy conditions from the northwest, and the wind chill for folks in Churchill this morning feels like minus 41. So you want to really take care out there. Now across the province, Winnipeg will see some warmer temperatures. When I say warmer, based on
relative to what we have,
but it's still going to be cold, so you want to take care out there. The wind chill is just something you need to take into consideration today. Bundle up.
It's funny, I went back one time and I was listening to how I was in archival radio shows, that morning show, and how we talk about the temperature right now compared to like February. So by mid-February we'll be like minus 30, whatever. We're still in the adjustment period, I think.
But for now, just stay frosty, but not too frosty.
The roadways, actually, Corey, you said the highways look pretty good when you're driving, right?
Yeah, pretty good, not too frosty. I will let you know about a couple issues out there. So Deacon's Corner westbound in the left-hand lane, there's a stalled car on Highway 1 there. Heard from Maria, so do look out for that. As well as westbound Centerport at the corner of the street is called Wheatfield. As well, there's a stalled semi as well, kind of in the center lane. You can kind of skirt around it on the left, says Christina. So those are two kind of issues on the road right now in Winnipeg. Otherwise, highways are looking pretty good. Marie even said it's not even too slick out there on Highway 1 at least. One troubled spot could be between Split Lake and Gillam this morning up north, where it is being reported with as poor visibility and covered conditions as well. So if you're making your way to or from Gillam today, you might run into some tough highway conditions. If you see anything else though going on, give me a call on the CBC commuter line, 204-788-3009. Oh, let me just check my tattoo. 3.
Yeah, right. One day you'll be old and someone will go, "What's that number? Phone number on your arm?" You'll be like, "I don't know." Crystal Ramlakan's here with more numbers in the markets on our business report and other stories. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Marcy.
So let's begin with some new data on how Canadian businesses are feeling about President-elect Donald Trump threatening these tariffs when he enters the White House. What have we heard?
Well, the tariffs could potentially be devastating for Canadian businesses and workers. And that's according to a new survey by lobby group Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters. The report found nearly 9 in 10 of the manufacturers surveyed would face significant or very severe impacts if the U.S. imposes tariffs on Canadian imports. And the chief executive of CME says the findings show why an urgent and coordinated response from governments is needed. And he says failure to do so will be devastating to our economy. So Trump has threatened to impose a 25% tariff on all imports from Canada and Mexico once he takes power next month if the countries do not stop the flow of what he calls migrants and illegal drugs into the U.S. Now, on Monday, the federal government announced $1.3 billion for border security and the immigration system as part of its fall economic statement in an effort to placate Trump's concerns. But many manufacturers are taking preemptive measures anyway. The poll of 330 manufacturers found 30% are accelerating shipments to the U.S., while another 30% say they have postponed planned investments, and 22% have already implemented hiring freezes.
Let's go to another story. Some Amazon workers went on strike yesterday. This is obviously just days now before the holidays. What do we know about it?
So workers at 7 U.S. facilities walked off the job yesterday. Employees say they are facing unfair treatment from the company. So warehouse workers in cities including New York, Atlanta, and San Francisco were taking part in what their union called the largest ever strike against Amazon. But Amazon has multiple locations, shielding it from disruptions pretty much. So Amazon says there have been no strikes in Canada either, so there should be no operational impacts here. Now, as the world's second largest private employer after Walmart, Amazon has been a target for unions that say the company's emphasis on increasing speed and efficiency can lead to injuries. But the company says it uses automation to reduce repetitive stress and says it pays industry-leading wages. Now, workers say they want Amazon to recognize the pressure to meet demands that affect their health. And the International Brotherhood of Teamsters had given Amazon a deadline of December 15th to begin negotiations, but of course, that day has passed without talks. And the Teamsters say they represent 10,000 workers at 10 Amazon facilities. But the e-commerce giant disputes that, saying there have been no elections or bargaining orders for those locations.
Well, speaking of wages, some pro pickleball players are now getting higher salaries rather than other pro athletes. This is interesting.
Yes. So the Professional Pickleball Association in the U.S. says the average pay of the more than 60 women on the PPA tour and in Major League Pickleball is $260,000. And that is more than the highest paid WNBA player's annual salary and more than double the average salary of National Women's Soccer League athletes in the U.S. So earlier this year, Major League Pickleball and the Professional Pickleball Association merged to create the United Pickleball Association. And the deal included $75 million of outside investment. Now, while the two groups have retained their own distinct brands, being under one umbrella has created cross-promotional opportunities for players, and sponsorship has grown by 50%.
I was just looking up CFL players, and it looks like they starting at around, in some cases, 130,000, and then there's 205,000. So maybe they could switch to pickleball, and maybe they'd make more too. That's so interesting, right?
Yes.
Unexpected. Yeah. All right. What are the numbers telling us today?
So in Europe, markets are lower. Germany, the UK, and France are all down. In Asia, markets are mostly falling. So Japan, Shanghai, and Hong Kong are all down. Oil is down 68 cents to $68.70 US per barrel. Gold is up $8.50 to $2,603.20 US per ounce. And the dollar is up 0.07 of a cent to 69.5 cents US.
All right. Have a good weekend. Are you in Monday?
Yes, I'll be here Monday and Tuesday.
Okay, me as well. We'll talk to you next week, Crystalie. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Marcy.
Crystalie Ramlakan from our with business news from our national team. 6:45 a.m. is the time right now, and mainly clear and -19 in Winnipeg. Brandon's clear -27. Thompson clear also -30. Our high in the city of Winnipeg today -18 with tons of sunshine. And if you need us on the commute, 788-3093. This is also usually when we start hearing from schools if there's going to be closures or cancellations, and we have yet to hear from any. So that means you are in class today, maybe shifting around, maybe not getting a ton done on this Friday before the holidays, but class looks like it's on. With Christmas just days away, Santa's also pretty busy making his list and checking it twice. Naughty or nice, kids will eagerly await to see if the big man in red fulfilled their Christmas wishes this year. CBC's Isabelle Leger asked a group of 4-year-olds what gifts they asked for in their letters to Santa this year.
So what's your name?
Coin.
What have you asked Santa for Christmas?
A Barbie doll.
A Barbie doll? What Barbie? Is it an astronaut or a...
I don't know.
An astronaut? I guessed it?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your name?
Paisley.
Paisley, what did you ask Santa Claus for?
A dog.
A dog? What kind of dog?
A Duke dog.
A Duke dog? What does a Duke dog look like? Is it big or small?
He's big.
Yeah, and it's going to be a boy?
Yeah.
Do you know what you name your dog?
Duke.
Now, what's your name?
Sophia.
Sophia, and what did you ask Santa Claus for?
Stuffy cheetah.
A stuffy cheetah? Wow. Why do you love cheetahs so much?
Because they run super fast.
Nice. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. And what's your name?
Claire.
Claire. And what did you ask Santa for?
A baby.
A baby? Like a baby doll?
Yeah.
Yeah? What kind of baby doll?
A pink baby with shoes.
And now, what's your name?
Gunner.
And Gunner, what would you like for Christmas? What are you asking Santa for?
Airplane with a remote control.
Okay, cool. Is it like a toy airplane or what kind of airplane?
A blue one.
A blue airplane. Okay, cool. And what are you going to do with that airplane? You play with it?
It will fly really fast.
Oh, cool. How does it fly? Do you make it fly?
No, with remote control, you just turn it, and then when you press these buttons, like the color buttons, it'll go even faster. Merry Christmas, everyone!
Look how cute they are. I love that. I also kind of love that Gunner wanted a remote control airplane, and then the pink baby, super cute. With shoes, remember? Very important, Santa. That was CBC's Isabel Legier speaking with 4-year-olds about their Christmas wishes. Now remember to tune in to Radio Noon on Christmas Eve because there's something very special that's going to be happening.
Ready, Rudolph?
Ready, Santa! Enjoy this festive season.
You coming? Why, to the North Pole, of course!
Enjoy the magic.
Happy birthday!
Hilarity.
I triple dog dare you!
We're all in for a very big treat.
Enjoy the excitement.
Tremendous, gargantuan, spectacular!
And wonder.
From the moment I met you, it's been an adventure.
Enjoy the holidays. Watch free on CBC Gem.
The customer you have reached,
Radio Noon,
is not available. Please leave your message at the tone.
Hello, this is Santa Claus. Just calling you back to say that I talked to the elves, and yes, they will let me take some calls from the good girls and boys of Manitoba on Radio Noon Christmas Eve from 12:30 to 1 p.m. Looking forward to it, so please don't hold any calls.
Santa Claus is coming to Radio Noon Christmas Eve from 12:30 to 1. Get those questions and Christmas wishes ready and dial 204-780-0893 for your chance to talk to Santa.
I told you we had something special planned for you, and that is it. Santa Claus, Christmas Eve, Radio Noon. He agreed again. Now, listen, if you're a regular CBC listener, you know that Santa Claus often is on the noon hour show taking calls from you. But this year's been really, really busy. So we're really excited that Santa's making some time here on CBC. So that's going to be on Radio Noon Christmas Eve. And Corey's going to help with all the calls because he's hosting the Radio Noon that day. So make sure you make a date with Santa. And so Christmas Eve, I can't believe it, is already coming up on Tuesday. It is 9 minutes to 7 o'clock on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. Well, let's turn to serious political news. After a week of high-stakes political drama, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is expected to shuffle his cabinet today. Rumors of a cabinet shuffle have been swirling for days in Ottawa. Speculation about the future of the Prime Minister himself and the party have intensified since the resignation of Chrystia Freeland on Monday, and the timing of this before the fiscal statement she was supposed to present, and also learning, of course, that 3 days before Monday, she was, told that she was basically demoted from her post as finance minister. To look at the story and talk more about the shuffle that's coming, Ryan Tumulty's here, political reporter with the Toronto Star. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I know that some names of the ministers in their new portfolios have already been reported. We in Manitoba are leaning into Terry Duguid. who's a former Winnipeg City Councillor, was elected in Winnipeg South 2015. His name's on this list, right?
Yeah, I've heard his name on the list. I haven't heard what portfolio he's going to be going in. A couple of other names in that camp, Darren Fisher, a Halifax MP, Rachel Bendian, a Montreal MP. Apparently all three of them are in cabinet, just not clear what roles. And then we've heard that David McGuinty from Ottawa will be the new public safety minister, and Nate Erskine-Smith from Toronto will be the housing minister.
Dominic LeBlanc, the man who apparently they want to do everything, was sworn in as the new finance minister on Monday. How do you think that the remaining roles are going to be rearranged overall in this shuffle? Or what? I guess you said what you think you've heard already, but what are you still waiting to hear? What's the buzz?
Yeah, what we've heard basically is that overall this is going to be kind of a comprehensive shuffle. This government's needed to do something for a while now. If you go back to September, Pablo Rodriguez stepped down and his transport portfolio was given to Anita Anand, who already had the Treasury Board assignment. Then Randy Boissonneau stepped down. Then we had about 4 cabinet ministers, 5 now with Sean Fraser, who announced this week that he wouldn't be running again. So there's a lot of gaps in this cabinet. There's a lot of people who are leaving or have already left. There's a few people here doing 2 or 3 jobs. What I've heard about the general approach to this cabinet shuffle is that they are trying to fill those gaps. They're trying to address the problems. And regardless of what happens with the Prime Minister's political future, to have a fully functioning, fully staffed up cabinet in place.
What's your sense of how many MPs might want, or pardon me, not want a cabinet position given everything that's happening in the turmoil in the party at this point?
Yeah, I mean, there's 18 MPs, 18 Liberal MPs by our count at the Star so far, who said that they are not running again. Who have said that the Prime Minister should resign. Those people are not going to want a cabinet position, and then the Prime Minister is not going to want them in his cabinet either. That's where you start with this list. I'm sure there are other MPs who maybe thought about it or maybe were even approached and said, not for me, not right now, given all the political turmoil. That said, cabinet minister is not a bad job. It comes with a pretty nice pay raise. It comes with a car and a driver and a staff. And I've heard a lot of MPs from all parties say that, being elected is a great privilege, but you can do a lot more on one bad day in government than you can do on a lot of great days in opposition.
Can you please help the country understand what's going on with Mark Carney, who before all this unfolded, everyone was talking about Mark Carney and his positioning and would he be finance minister, and then no, and then is he going to run for leadership? And I mean, is there any chance whatsoever Mark Carney's going to be named a cabinet minister?
After this couple of weeks in politics, I kind of want to say never on any sort of political developments. But my strong leaning is that he is not going to be at Rideau Hall today. I've always been skeptical of this, to be perfectly frank. The idea of putting him in as finance minister would mean finding him a seat to run in. It's hard to imagine where the safe Liberal seat is in this country at this point. We've seen the government lose several ultra-safe Liberal seats this year in by-elections. And if the only other way to get someone into cabinet is to make them a senator, which would break a lot of the Prime Minister's promises about an independent Senate, and would also be a problem because senators aren't allowed to set foot in the House of Commons. So, you'd have a finance minister who couldn't deliver the budget. I've been skeptical of the idea of Mark Carney coming in for a while now, and I really do not expect to see him at Rideau Hall today.
And help me understand here, could Mark Carney be named finance minister and then announce that he's running for a seat? Can you do it in that order even?
You can do it in that order. But again, you do ultimately have to get a seat.
Yes. I have to ask you before you go this morning, Ryan, about the Prime Minister's future. We've all been talking about it this week, of course. He's now said he's reflecting on his future. What do you think? You just said you don't want to predict what I'm asking you. But what do you think is going to happen next with him?
I'll be very interested to see if he speaks at Rideau Hall today, if he talks to reporters. Prime ministers usually do after a cabinet shuffle and talk about the greatest team they've assembled. Obviously, that won't be the question for him if he does step up to the mic. I think what I expect is I'm not willing to make a prediction on will he stay or go. What I do expect today is, though, that today will be sort of his last public appearance for a while. He'll go back and do more reflection, more talking to a very tight circle of advisors. I suspect there are really only 2 or 3 people who know what his thinking is, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
So we'll see, I guess, is the short answer. I suspect we won't have an answer to this anytime, though, before the new year.
Yeah. All right, Ryan, thank you very much. And we'll talk to you. I'm not sure when next. Are you in next week or before the end of the year?
All right, we'll see.
Guess we'll see. Anyway, if you're not, happy holidays. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ryan Tumulty, political reporter with the Toronto Star. So that shuffle coming today. Let's get into what's happening locally here with Heather Wells in our headlines in Manitoba.
Good morning. Well, the effects of a cyber attack at Pembina Trail School Division continue taking a toll on teachers and students alike. One teacher tells CBC most schools in the division have no internet access at all, and staff have lost access to files, lesson plans, and tools for assessing students. Brandon police are sounding the alarm on a toxic drug supply in that city. They say overdose deaths have doubled since 2022 from 3 deaths that year to 7 so far this year. We're going to hear from an advocate in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
Well, yesterday on the program, we were hearing about a story of a Manitoba man living with spinal muscular atrophy, a rare degenerative disease. He wants the province to cover the cost for what could be life-changing treatment. But this morning, we're going to take you somewhere else where a national advocate and mother of someone living with SMA says that she thinks the Manitoba government also needs to do more. So we're going to have a follow on that story. In addition, it is the most wonderful time of the year. So why are there so many sad Christmas songs out there? CBC's Chloe Friesen explores the benefits of being merry and melancholy, because this year can bring up a whole lot of grief as well. And we'll have more on Pembina Trails. Heather was just mentioning that story. 19 degrees mainly clear, minus 19 degrees mainly clear in Winnipeg. Maybe the minus is implied by now. Our high today is going to be minus 18, so we're not going to move much. Lots of sunshine in our forecast. Check the highways if you need us, 511. Call us if you need us, 788-3093. And note that westbound Deacon's Corner on Highway 1, there's a stalled car in the left lane. World Report's next.
Today on The Current.
Canada geese might be something of a national symbol, but they are also a honking nuisance. In Lethbridge, Alberta, they've come up with a plan, something called the Gooseinator, the latest technological innovation to try to get rid of geese. It's coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. We begin with Justin Trudeau's tumultuous week, a week that isn't over yet.
Justin, do not resign! Do not resign! Do not resign! Do not resign!
That's what it sounded like as he left the Prime Minister's office for the evening yesterday. We still don't know if he intends to leave that office for good. We do know that Trudeau is shuffling his cabinet today. And sources tell CBC News this will be a major shakeup. At least 10 people will be involved. Olivia Stefanovic has details on what we've learned so far.
Well, it needs to happen.
With some cabinet ministers doing double or triple duty, Ontario Liberal MP Chad Collins says vacancies must be filled quickly. This shuffle is intended to stabilize the government and make cabinet functional. But aside from that, Collins doesn't expect it to do much for the Liberals' fortunes.
A cabinet shuffle and $250 rebates just don't cut it in terms of what this party needs and what our government needs to move forward.
Collins is among the growing chorus of Liberal MPs, publicly calling for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to resign, with their voices only growing louder since Chrystia Freeland's sudden resignation from cabinet. Sources say the shuffle will involve at least 10 people, including Ottawa backbench MP David McGuinty, who will replace Dominic LeBlanc in public safety. Sources say Toronto MP Nathaniel Erskine Smith will also be among those promoted.
It's been an odd week, never a dull moment.
Erskine Smith previously stepped away from federal politics to run unsuccessfully for the Ontario Liberal leadership. Erskine Smith will now take the federal housing portfolio following the resignation of another high-profile cabinet minister this week, Sean Fraser. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
And you can tune in to CBC Radio for full coverage of the Trudeau government cabinet shuffle today at 12 noon Eastern. Join CBC's Tom Harrington and Catherine Cullen from the House for analysis on CBC Radio or stream it live from the CBC News app. Meanwhile, the NDP and other opposition parties are calling on Trudeau to resign. At the beginning of the week, the party said it would vote to bring down the government if he didn't. But now the NDP appears to be backtracking on that commitment. David Thurton has the details.
Mixed messaging from the federal NDP.
This idea that the Liberals can play out a drama over the course of the next few months, simply not on.
Peter Julian is the NDP House leader. On Monday, he told CBC's Power and Politics New Democrats would vote to bring down the Liberals.
When it's a straight-up confidence motion, if we have the continued debacle that we're seeing here and the Prime Minister has not stepped down, we simply cannot continue like this. So yes, the NDP, as the adults in the room, would step up on that.
That resolve changed when the NDP leader did a series of interviews.
Well, I'm going to look at what's in the best interest of Canadians.
Jagmeet Singh telling CTV News all options are on the table.
Why would I box myself in and say I'm going to do something definitive when
because
we don't know what's going to happen?
Canadians are saying that's what we want.
No, we're going to wait and see what happens.
That kind of backtracking makes it difficult to follow where the party really stands, according to Carl Belanger.
And so it begs the question, what will they actually do the next time a confidence comes up?
Belanger was once the principal secretary to a previous NDP leader, Thomas Mulcair. He adds, although Singh's final actions are unclear, it doesn't seem to be harming New Democrats.
They have not been going down in the polls. That said, they have not been going up.
New Democrats have consistently polled above 15 points, and now they're neck and neck with the Liberals. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
The U.S. Congress is facing a midnight deadline to avoid a government shutdown.
Two-thirds not being in the affirmative, the rules are not suspended and the bill is not passed.
A revised spending plan endorsed by Donald Trump failed to reach the votes needed to pass the House of Representatives last night. The president-elect and Elon Musk derailed an earlier deal the Republican House Speaker had struck with Democrats. Without an agreement, many government departments will run out of money tonight. The CBC's Richard Madden is in Washington. Richard, tell us about what happened last night.
Yeah, it's strike two for House Republicans, and this time more than 36 lawmakers in their own party voted against a plan to keep the government open until next spring that was backed by incoming President Donald Trump. So this means the U.S. is now on the brink of a government shutdown at midnight tonight unless a new deal is reached. Now, you'll recall the initial plan that was agreed upon by both parties was set to pass until Trump and billionaire Elon Musk, who Trump tapped to cut government spending, called it a steal of tax dollars and even threatened Republicans with their political careers if they supported it. So dozens of Republicans got the message and came up with a pared-down version. But that, too, was rejected. So now, frustration is building on both sides of the aisle. Even some Republicans are questioning Musk's growing power in their party. Here's Republican lawmaker Rick McCormick.
Last time I checked, Elon Musk doesn't have a vote in Congress. Now, he has influence, and he'll put pressure on us to do whatever he thinks the right thing is for him. But I have 760,000 people that voted for me to do the right thing for them, and that's what matters to me.
Now, Trump also wanted Republicans to raise the debt limit. That's the amount of money the government can borrow, but that was rejected by hardline conservatives. So this is causing more chaos and uncertainty 1 month before Trump takes office.
So, Richard, what happens next?
Yeah, that's the multi-billion-dollar question. Lawmakers literally have just hours to come up with a new spending plan, or it's lights off at 12:01. This would prevent the government from paying its bills, including paying millions of federal workers right before the Christmas break. So the clock is ticking for them to reach a deal.
Richard Madden in Washington. Thanks, Richard.
You bet.
Italy's Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini could be sentenced to 6 years in prison today. A court is trying him for kidnapping after he held a boat full of migrants offshore for almost 3 weeks in 2019.
Sono assolutamente orgoglioso di quello che ho fatto, ho mantenuto le promesse fatte, ho contrastato...
As he arrived in Palermo this morning, Salvini told reporters he is proud of what he did. He says the move slowed mass migration and reduced deaths at sea. But his move to ban the ship from docking put migrants in a desperate situation. Some threw themselves overboard in desperation while the captain pleaded for safe port. 7 inmates are dead after a prison riot in southern Mexico, 6 others injured. And for several hours yesterday, family members were frantic. They tried to break down a fence and enter the prison. The relatives said they had no information about their loved ones for hours after the riot happened. It started as inmates resisted being transferred to other jails. Some fought police with guns and knives. 4 police officers were injured in the riot. And finally, the Democratic Republic of Congo is suing tech giant Apple. It claims the company's European arm is sourcing minerals needed for Apple products from the country's conflict-torn eastern region. Correspondent Chris Opchamringa has more from Kinshasa.
A mine in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo where minerals used in computers and mobile phones are being extracted. The lawsuit filed against Apple's French and Belgian subsidiaries accuses them of buying minerals from the conflict zones in this region of the DRC. Several towns there have been captured by rebels known as the M23. The Congolese government accuses Rwanda of using the rebels as proxies to plunder minerals and sell them abroad. Patrick Muyaya is the DRC's Minister of Communication.
We have evidence to prove that Apple has benefited from the circle of blood minerals like cobalt, particularly with the Rwandan aggression. That aggression is essentially economic.
Both Apple and Rwanda have denied the allegations. Eastern DRC is rich in minerals used for making high-tech devices, including rechargeable batteries. But millions there live in poverty. Miners like Julie Mapendo spend hours in these mines but have little to show for it.
The Europeans got us work and we thought that they would help us, but they are the ones benefiting because we don't earn much.
Jack Mukena, who works for an NGO that researches the violence in the DRC, welcomed the lawsuit.
One thing that this criminal complaint can actually do is to raise awareness on the ongoing conflict in Eastern Congo.
The armed conflict has claimed thousands of lives and displaced more than 2 million people since it started in 2021. Chris Ochamringa for CBC News, Kinshasa.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. Remember, for news anytime, go to our website, cbcnews.ca. This hour, a whole lot of stories about the Prime Minister, his cabinet shuffle, and his political future. Check it all out, cbcnews.ca. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Well, welcome to Friday morning, everyone. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We're live downtown on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and YouTube. It's clear. It's minus 19. Thanks for joining us on what's going to be a busy day, I suspect, the Friday before the holidays. It can also be a little bit sad. You ever wonder why at this time of year when you're listening and you're rocking along to a carol, all of a sudden a sad Christmas song comes out? There's a lot of sad Christmas songs. Well, CBC's Chloe Friesen this hour explores the benefits of being merry and melancholy. Also, this hour on the program, we are going to hear more from Heather Wells in a minute about the impact of the Shaftesbury High School of the Pembina Trail School Division issues with hacking. And so Heather will have that in a moment for us, and we'll have more on it. And we have been following the story of a Manitoba man living with spinal muscular atrophy, a rare degenerative disease. He wants the province to cover costs for life-changing treatment. Today, we're going to have a follow-up on that story when we hear from a national advocate. Right now, though, let's go to Heather for more on what has been going on and the the impact of what we've been hearing happened in the Pembina Trail School Division. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Yes, students and teachers are still struggling to deal with the effects of that cyber attack at Pembina Trails. One teacher tells CBC most schools in the division have no internet at all, and staff have lost access to files, lesson plans, and tools to assess students. One high school student from Shaftesbury High School says he feels like his education has suffered a setback. We're going to hear more coming up. And Manitoba has confirmed its first case of avian flu in 2024. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says the disease was detected at a commercial poultry operation in Portage-la Prairie. I'll be back with more news at 7:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Let's go to the weather now with Abby Adiemi.
Marcy, we're looking at temperatures at this time across the province close to minus 30 already. This is not even factoring in the wind chill. We're seeing 26, 27, 28 in most of the regions. It's going to be a cold day. We have a clear start in most of the regions. Some clouds will roll in by the afternoon period, but the wind chills is something that you need to take into consideration there, and that dangerous level, which is going to feel even colder than the actual temperature. Winnipeg, we are waking up to a chilly minus 20. Though it's a frosty one, it's going to be more like a day with plenty sunshine, which will not really be warming things up because the clouds will roll in around the noon period, and then that winds will stay light. We'll see highs around minus 18, but the wind chill this morning is around minus 37. So frostbite is no joke. Looking at temperatures around the Red River, Western Manitoba, Central Parkland, all seeing temperatures close to minus 25, 26 at this time, and the wind chill feeling like minus 37. So we're going to see that sunny start. Clouds will join the party. We're going to see highs around 18. Wind chill in the range of minus 37. Frostbite is no joke today. I think it's more like a sweater weather with a little extra.
Clouds are joining the party, bringing the eggnog like, woo! Everyone's like, no, we don't want you.
Yeah.
Corey Funk, before you look at what's happening in traffic, we should just mention that you, speaking of parties, just got off the phone and I think booked a guest for us after 8 that they're working on their annual holiday dinner, but there's some concerns with the organization, right?
Yeah, so Tessa Blakey Whitecloud, CEO of Siloam Mission, is going to join us after 8:20. It's a busy week. So not only they have their annual holiday party today, but on Wednesday night they opened their overnight winter overnight shelter that was going on through March. But they were actually waiting on funding. They didn't know what they're going to do, but then a local organization actually stepped up to make it happen. So
okay, great. We'll get all those details on the air after 8 then. And in traffic, you've been busy?
Yeah, it's getting a few calls. Just heard from Dan on a bike. He says kind of like yesterday, things are plowed, but it's still pretty slick out there. So you still got to take it slow if you're biking this morning on the bike lanes in particular. Also, you just might want to keep out. I don't know if it's changed yet. I heard probably it was just over an hour ago. Heard about a stalled vehicle on Highway 1 going westbound at Deacon's Corner in the left lane. So may still be an issue there. Kind of catches you off guard as you're kind of heading through that intersection. So keep right to get around that. Heard that from Maria. Other than that, though, highways seem okay so far, with the exception of perhaps the section of highway between Split Lake and Gillam might be a little bit hairy there with some poor visibility and covered highway conditions. But if you see something going on, though, out there on the highways, the roads, bike lanes, sidewalks, give me a call and I'll let folks know what you're seeing. That number, 204-788-3093.
Well, as Heather was just saying, the Pembina Trails School Division is warning that some students and staff may have had their personal information, including payroll information, compromised. The division's still dealing with the after effects of the cybersecurity attack earlier this month. Now, for weeks, some of the very basic systems, Heather was also talking on this, but we want to expand here. Systems like printers and computers, they've all not been working, and schools have been open, but educators have been struggling, as you can imagine, to teach students who are dependent especially on computer technology. So let's hear more from grade 10 student Sebastian Kelly, who goes to Shaftesbury High School. He spoke to CBC's Arturo Chang about how he and other students are coping.
I can say that they've been very hectic for sure.
You had this big cyber attack. How has that affected your life as a student?
It's made it more difficult because there's certain things like projects and stuff that I've been working on that now are just like, I don't know, they're in limbo and they're potentially gone, and everything's all over the place, and we're unsure about like what has been lost or what has happened.
And tell me a bit about the extent and the services that have been affected by this. You were telling me that even like some of the clocks don't work.
Yeah, the PA system and up until probably Thursday was not working. They were all off. They were not functioning. We couldn't read the time. Like, you couldn't tell anything. Like, there was no announcements, no Canada, no typical things that we would have in an everyday school situation.
And when it comes to the stuff that you may be missing, like some of the assignments that you don't have access to, like explain how that works. Like, and what assignments are you particularly referring to?
I'm referring to some of my film assignments and the more computer technology based type courses that I'm taking. I know a lot of people in computer science they've also been all over the place.
How does that make you feel?
Sort of concerned, because I'm not really necessarily sure how we're going to bounce back from this. And I mean, I know we will, but everything's kind of uncertain at this point still. And so I'm kind of nervous to an extent, because, they say nothing's been leaked and this and that, but who knows what will happen.
What sort of communications have you gotten from the school and since the beginning, and how do things stand right now?
So at the start it was the 3rd, the Tuesday, I believe, because we didn't have school on the Monday. The Tuesday, we came to school and we just noticed everything was off. No computers, nothing. We couldn't read the time. And then we got told by teachers, and there was also an email sent out to parents that basically said, we've had a cyber attack, we'll update you once we have more information. And that's what it was for probably the first 4 or 5 days. About the first week, actually, it was pretty much that, where we had not much to go off of. Teachers didn't have much to go off of. Even the administration themselves didn't have much to go off of.
What are some of the other concerns that you've been hearing from other students or teachers?
How are we going to finish our work for more tech-focused classes? How are we going to finish our work? Even some teachers were like, sorry, we can't do nothing today. Like, I have nothing. I've lost everything. Everything on my computer was corrupted, for example. Some of my teachers have said, like, I went logged onto my computer and everything said corrupt everywhere. And so I can't show what I was going to show today. So, yeah.
So what are you doing instead when those situations happen?
A lot of people have told me that in things like computer science and stuff, they've literally been watching movies just because they can't do anything, because it's purely computer-based.
What do you think that the division, the schools should be doing to make your time easier and maybe like address the sort of situations in the future?
Well, I definitely say that safety definitely 100% is first. Get the public announcement systems working, because things that happen at places like Oak Park, Elmwood High School, across the city, it is very concerning for us in Pembina Trails not to have the proper messaging and the proper awareness that we should have, especially for these things happening. And there needs to be a lot more communication, definitely.
So those things happening that he's referring to are the threats this week that happened to close Elmwood and Oak Park, right? Just in case you haven't been up on what those stories were and how they were developing. Sebastian Kelly speaking there. He's a grade 10 Shaftesbury High School student. He spoke to CBC's Arturo Chang. Now, the Pembina Trails School Division serves the southwest portion of Winnipeg. There's 36 schools in the division and about 16,000 students. In a memo to staff obtained by CBC News, the division says a database containing payroll information may have been among the info accessed during the cyber attack on December 2nd. It says since then it has taken steps to contain the data breach. It also says it has notified police. And if you want to read more about not just today's story, but all the developments that led us here since this happened December 2nd, go to our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba.
The CBC News app delivers the answers you want to know and need to know.
What an extraordinary scene.
The breaking stories that shape your world. Reporting from the scene onto your screens.
Dropping the 8 now. We're just approaching Gaza.
Your source for mobile news. Delivered when you want, where you want.
This situation has changed very quickly.
The CBC News app. Download for free.
Well, still ahead on our show this morning.
And everybody's supposed to be happy. And if you're not happy, it's like, well, A, you feel bad. B, you feel bad that you feel bad. So when there's songs that resonate with people and songs that can reflect the kind of stuff that you're feeling, that affects you in a way that maybe we're not all aware of.
How sad Christmas music can actually boost people's spirits during the holidays. We'll have a special radio item coming up here right after 7:30 from the CBC's Chloe Friesen, so stay tuned. It's full of music, as you can imagine as well. 7:22 a.m. is the time now, and speaking of music, we have music from Magi Merlin, who is back with her first solo single since 2022. This one is not sad. This is an upbeat pop house kind of number with an equally upbeat name. It's called Bip on CBC.
Trapped in a 4-leaf clover, heating up again in the corner. Reason I don't wanna get older or sober. Try, said it was easy. Just don't wanna be bad. Think that's the way to go. I just don't wanna ask. Inside I calm down. In time, try again. She's looking at you. God, pay you due. Find out what our times do. On your knees, baby boo. Fumble on you. That's another break of rule. Ooh, keep looking at you. Hold on like glue. Ripping up my new skate shoe. Hold on, freedom I knew. Paying our dues. We're the reason we all lose.
Out of Montreal, that is a Magi Merlin. Song's called Bip. Scott Rick-Harris here now with Morning Sports. How you doing?
Great. I've been watching listening to so much Christmas music that anything that's not, it's going to make an impact anyway. But that song, yeah.
Kind of cool, right?
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah. I like that it's called Bip.
Bip.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm with you.
You're not here after today, I heard. I heard this is your final look at sports this year. Where do you want to start?
With the event, Marcy, that I think is going to carry many of us through the holiday season, the World Junior Hockey Championships. Canada played its first warm-up game last night, easily beat the Swiss 7-1. The lone Manitoban on Team Canada, goalie Carson Bjarnason, he's from Carberry. He had one period of action last night, wasn't particularly busy, faced just 4 shots and stopped 3 of them. Meanwhile, still with hockey, Jets, they're next in action tomorrow night. They host the Minnesota Wild. But yesterday, 2 Canadian teams, Vancouver and Calgary, lost in 2-1, Edmonton and Ottawa. Game-winning goal scorer for the Senators, Marcy, was Brady Tkachuk. He scored an OT after taking a stick to the face earlier in the game that cost him 9 lip stitches and a lost tooth. Now, that's something that would not happen to a player in the Professional Women's Hockey League since they wear full face cages. Montreal Victoire defender Erin Ambrose was asked whether she sees a time when her league goes with visors instead.
You have sticks in your hand. There's a puck that moves close to 100 kilometers an hour on the ice sometimes. Why would I want to ruin this face? Like, no, thank you. I understand that people want to see our faces, but do you want to see my face once I leave the rink? If I've been hit in the face with a puck? Like, no. I don't even know if I would wear a visor at like a charity game.
So there you are. Don't think the PWHL is going to go with visors anytime soon.
What do you really think, though? I love that clip,
Yeah.
by the way. Yeah. Let's go to a generally safer sport now, where Canadians actually trying to surprise at the World Championship of Darts.
Yeah, and so far so good for Matt Campbell, Marcy. Campbell never trailed yesterday in beating an Austrian opponent in his first-round match. Now, with the nickname Jinja Ninja, you might expect Campbell would be all vitriol and bombast after the victory. Nope.
I feel like it's been a really bad year, but thankfully I was able to qualify, come here, and win my first round, so it kind of turns the whole season around. And it was either I don't have to fly here for Christmas and I could stay home, buy the kids gifts, and set the tree up, or I do it on the 22nd, so it didn't really make a difference.
The understated Campbell has already guaranteed himself some extra Christmas present money, close to $30,000 for the win yesterday. Of course, the goal is to win it all, which comes with a prize of about $1 million, and then presumably to get back home to Hamilton ASAP to celebrate around the Christmas tree.
And let's, before you go this morning, finish with whatever you want. What else are you watching over the holidays?
Oh, a lot of football, Marcy. In college pigskin south of the border, the format has changed, so there's now a 12-team playoff, which begins tonight. Canadian Curtis Rourke leading the University of Indiana against Notre Dame. Many believe the Oakville, Ontario native will be the highest drafted quarterback from this country ever when the NFL does its picking next spring, and Rourke can only enhance his draft stock with a strong game tonight. Meantime, in the NFL, a team whose unexpectedly woeful play this season has them back in the news. New York Jets owner Woody Johnson, Marcy, has apparently been making decisions about whether to trade for players or not based on the recommendations of his son's video game system. The Athletic reports that Johnson interfered with a trade his general manager wanted to make to bring in receiver Jerry Jeudy from the Cleveland Browns. It's because Judy's Madden rating on an Xbox game was lower than the owner was comfortable with. The lows to which the Jets have sunk have become the talk of the online world and all sports networks. Here's former NFL receiver Nate Burleson.
I started thinking about video games and their influence on all of us. If you were driving a car and there was a shortcut and it said Rainbow Road and it was all lit up, I don't think you would take Rainbow Road because of everything that we've seen in Mario Kart. So I'm just saying, video games sometimes do have an influence on us, but all jokes aside, it is ridiculous.
I've been on Rainbow Road. Yeah, you don't want to go on Rainbow Road. I'm worried about Curtis Rourke's Madden rating because he might be drafted by the Jets. But it's the holiday season. Just happy thoughts right now.
Enjoy your gumdrop cake and your boys and your family, and happy holidays.
Yeah, you too. To you and your family too, Marcy. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll talk to you in the new year, Scott.
You betcha.
Scott Reguer with Morning Sports joins us every morning here on CBC's Information Radio. Your CBC Winnipeg News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it's -20 now as we begin the last day of autumn. -20 downtown, it's -25 out at the airport, and our high today is a sunny -18. Winter officially arrives early tomorrow morning. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is closing out a stormy week today with a major overhaul of his cabinet. It is a shuffle, CBC News has learned, will involve at least 10 people. Trudeau has to accommodate 2 ministers who stepped down on Monday and a number of others who have previously announced they won't be running in the next election. Meanwhile, Trudeau's future as party leader and prime minister remains the talk of Parliament Hill, with Liberal MPs like John McKay admitting they have no idea what he has in mind.
His perception after 50 years of living in a political aristocratic bubble is different than the reality that you and I live in. It enables him to do extraordinary things, and I think he has done extraordinary things. But it also leaves a bit of a blind spot. So where others might see peril, he sees opportunity.
Today's swearing-in ceremony happens at 10:30 Central Time this morning. Tune in to CBC Radio for live coverage of the Trudeau government cabinet shuffle today at 11 o'clock Central Time. And you can hear the latest national and international news coming up at 8 on World Report. Students and teachers are still struggling to deal with the effects of a cyber attack at Pembina Trails School Division. One teacher tells CBC most schools in the division have no internet at all. Staff have lost access to files, lesson plans, and tools for assessing students. Sebastian Kelly is a grade 10 student at Shaftesbury High. He hasn't been able to access the school photography projects he's been working on for the past 2 years.
It's discouraging. It's discouraging because I put in all that work just to, lose it and get nothing out of it. Yeah.
The division yesterday revealing the personal information of students as far back as 2014 has been accessed by an unauthorized third party. It says a separate database containing staff payroll information may also have been accessed. Brandon police say the city is seeing a spike in overdoses. Overdose fatalities have doubled over the last 2 years, from 3 deaths in 2022 to 7 so far in 2024. Solange Machado is Brandon's Manitoba Harm Reduction Senior Coordinator. She says illicit drugs are becoming more dangerous because they can be more potent or have unexpected chemicals like sodium and herbicides. Machado says a community effort is needed to keep people safe.
Having more service providers downtown who are knowledgeable and have the education on what's the current trends of overdose, and having more organizations open longer hours and just to be aware what to look for, all of that helps.
Machado says to stay safe, people need to watch for drug alerts. They need to carry naloxone, test drugs before using, and never use alone. Well, Manitoba has confirmed its first case of avian flu in 2024. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says the disease was detected at a commercial poultry operation in Portage la Prairie last month. Similar cases have been recorded since 2022. Now, the virus, also known as H5N1, is highly transmissible among domestic birds, but it has also spread to mammals. And among people, the Public Health Agency of Canada says the risk is higher for those who have unprotected exposure to infected birds. Brandon police can now detain more than twice as many prisoners in their expanded jail. A 2-year-long construction project saw 17 cells added to Brandon's police headquarters. Mayor Jeff Fawcett says the new space will help with overall community safety. It has a paramedic on site, and Brandon's mayor thinks that could help cut down on first responder wait times.
That will eliminate a lot of the emergency room stays, where we have 2 police officers with somebody in there has to wait, and they can be in there for quite some time. Now we'll be able to bring them here. The paramedic is able to take care of that, and our staff sergeants get back out onto the road.
The province provided $8.6 million for this project. The city of Brandon will be paying operational costs. The expanded centre fully opened last week, but police have been using those new jail cells since September. You can find more news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, Heather Wells, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get into this regional forecast. Abby, a listener just wrote to me. I posted a little Christmas pic of us up on a holiday pickup on my Facebook page. I said, feeling Friday festive, because we kind of are. And one of the listeners wrote in and said, I got to read this exactly. Happy frickin' freezing Friday.
Yeah, freaking freezing. I'll take that.
People are like, whoa, out there this morning. We're the warm spot and we're minus 20.
Yeah, that's what, I said that earlier. I said compared to other regions, we are warm, but the frostbite is still something you need to take into consideration. Across the province today, it's going to be cold. We have this widespread risk of frostbite due to bitter wind chills. So you just have to keep yourself bundled up as you get out and about today. In Winnipeg and the Red River Valley region, we're looking at temperatures around minus 20. Clear outside though. We should see some sunny skies this morning. That will not be warming anything up. It will become partly cloudy around the noon period. Light winds will kick in. We'll see highs around minus 18 for the city, but the chills will make it feel in the range of minus 37, so you want to bundle up. Heading west to Brandon, minus 27 at this time for the Westman region. The day will bring more clouds into play. Breezy conditions from the south is your high will get to minus 12. The wind chill feels like minus 37 this morning. You want to stay warm also. Similar condition in the south central region. We're looking at wind chills in the values of minus 37. The Parkland region is sitting at minus 31 now. That's the current temperature in Dauphin. Expect some clouds to roll in. Light wind will kick in. Your highs will be around minus 15. The wind chill is going to make it feel like minus 34 for folks in Dauphin today. Gimli is at minus 27. Looking at conditions in the Interlake region, we should see sunny skies today. That will turn partly cloudy by the noon period. Winds will be light. Highs around minus 18, similar to Winnipeg. The wind chill is going to be in the values of minus 32. For the Power and Flin Flon, we're looking at temperatures already sitting at minus 31. The sun will try to make its appearance, but it will not be warming things up as your high would only get to minus 22, and then the wind chill is going to be in the range of minus 34 this morning. Moving north, it's minus 31 in Thompson at this time. Plenty of sunshine in the forecast, though. Your high will be around minus 23, but the wind chill makes it feel like minus 37 this morning. And then going further north into Churchill, where the temperature is at minus 26. We're seeing some drifting snow at this time. Plenty of cloudy conditions will be felt with that northwest winds, and the wind chill is going to be feeling like minus 41 this morning. So that's like frostbites in minutes for folks out there. So you want to take care if you're there. So the wind chill is just something that's going to be posing serious risk in all the regions today. I would just advise stay safe out there. Winnipeg currently we're at minus 20.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Just see the look on my face with minus 20.
Drop the mic. It's going to clunk to the ground. It might break because it's frozen. All right, let's get into what's going on in the commute. We have an update on something, right?
Yeah, so got a call. I was talking about that stalled car westbound Highway 1 at Deacon's Corner there. It's gone. So it's been cleared. So that should be smooth sailing through there. Otherwise, it's been pretty quiet out there. I imagine there's probably a few people who were smart and booked today off. But if you do see some going out there, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. If you're walking, biking, driving, heard it's pretty slick in the bike lanes despite them being fairly plowed. So careful there. If you see anything, 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks, Corey
Thank
Funk.
you.
Well, up next on CBC's Information Radio, 'tis the season for Christmas music, whether you like it or not. But there's a niche category of holiday tunes, rarely played at parties or the mall. They're meant to make listeners feel less than merry. CBC's Chloe Friesen explains.
I love Christmas. Always have, always will. The glistening lights, the generous gift giving, the joy filled memories.
Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year.
But when it comes to Christmas music,
If there'll be snow.
I, Chloe Friesen, Christmas cheer aficionado, am obsessed with sad Christmas songs. They're my go-to during December. Playlist titles include Melancholy Christmas, Sad Girl Christmas, and All I Want for Christmas is Sad Christmas Music. And they all include this one song in particular.
It's coming on Christmas. They're cutting down trees. They're putting up reindeer and singing songs of joy and peace. Oh, I wish I had a river I could skate away on.
River. by the one and only Joni Mitchell from her iconic 1971 album, Blue. It's one of the most heart-wrenching Christmas songs, nay, songs of all time. And it doesn't make sense. I love the holidays. I'm very happy right now. So why do I gravitate towards sad songs like River in December?
Well, she quotes a Christmas Carol right off the top. Ba-da-da-da-dum.
Right.
Hey!
Neil Weisensell is a composer and professor of music at Canadian Mennonite University here in Winnipeg. He's also a big Joni Mitchell fan, so I invited him to help me figure this out.
Also, lyrics. They're cutting down trees and singing songs of joy and peace, right?
It starts positive.
Well, yeah, maybe she's not so crazy about the cutting down trees part.
Right.
This is the gal that wrote the song about Paradise in the Parking Lot, right?
So hard to handle. I'm selfish and I'm sad. Now I gone and lost the best baby that I ever had. Oh, I wish I had a river I could skate away on.
Have you ever skated on a river?
I have.
And it goes on forever, right?
Mhm.
So it's like you can just disappear. And there's a little bit of an element of danger because you're not sure if you're going to fall through the ice.
Ooh.
It's not like I don't think it's a super relaxing experience. It's more a little bit of a daredevil going in there.
A bit of an escape.
Yeah, definitely. So those are the few of the things that go through my mind.
Why do you think sad Christmas music works or exists?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, it's very dark. It's very cold right now. That's kind of part of it. You know, we're being told that we need to be happy and we need to be told that we need to buy stuff for our friends and family. And so there's a little bit of pressure that we feel from capitalism. And everybody's supposed to be happy. And if you're not happy, it's like, well, you know, A, you feel bad. B, you feel bad that you feel bad. So when there's songs that resonate with people and songs that can reflect the kind of stuff that you're feeling that affects you in a way that maybe we're not all aware of, like I'm a nerd, so I'm listening to chord progressions and melodies and that kind of stuff. So one of the songs that you sent me, when she said the word happy, there was a minor chord.
It's meant to be the happy time of year.
I sent Neil a short playlist of some of my favorite sad Christmas songs. On the list is a cover of Merle Haggard's If We Make It Through December by Phoebe Bridgers.
Wow, like that kind of subliminal thing. If you're a nerd like me, you'll understand what she's doing. But for most people, it's just like, oh, something happened there. There was a mood change, even on that one word, especially on the word happy. So those are some of the things that I notice.
Everything's gonna be alright, I know. It's the coldest time of winter.
So, there's a few reasons I like sad Christmas songs. And I'm definitely not alone in my obsession. Just type in Sad Christmas on any streaming service. And the proof is in the sad Christmas pudding.
Did I make you cry on Christmas Day? Did I let you down like every other day?
But could it be possible that I'm spending too much time under the melancholy mistletoe?
Well, I think, that's a good question. Yeah, how much is too much?
Dr. Maggie Penfold is a registered clinical psychologist. She has a special interest in how the holiday season affects our thoughts and feelings.
I definitely wouldn't say it's unhealthy. Sad music generally, I think, speaks to the full range of human experiences that we'll have. It lets us, in a way, approach difficult life experiences, difficult emotional experiences in a way like it's at a little bit of a psychological distance. Even though it's supposed to be the most joyous time of year, we might notice there are some Christmas songs that we find more comforting than others. And I think, just for me personally, I do find some of the sadder ones a bit more comforting.
That's good. That makes me feel much better about my sad Christmas music obsession.
Yeah, you're not alone. No, I do. I hear that from a number of different people. They really love their sad Christmas songs and more generally sad music. There's a lot of really fantastic music out there that if you really sit down and listen to the lyrics, it's quite sad. It's quite heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. And yet we love it.
You'll be doing all right with your Christmas
have a blue, 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 blue Christmas.
For CBC Radio, I'm Chloe Friesen.
Oh, man, right? I cry at any carol, personally. I call myself a carol crier, but I like a good sad Christmas song also. I love that piece, though, understanding it. And I love when we could hear that minor chord when she says happy. It just changes your mood, right? That's Chloe Friesen, and the songs you heard in the piece, by the way, River by Joni Mitchell, If We Make It to December by Phoebe Bridgers. That was The Worst Christmas Ever by Sufjan Stevens, and Blue Christmas, of course, at the end there from Elvis Presley. We do have a brand new song to play for you next. If you want to add something to your own sad Christmas playlist, from American rock band Bleachers, this is Merry Christmas, Please Don't Call.
To the tempo of your tide is the flicker of a street light. You know this moment, don't you? And time is strangely calm now, 'cause everybody's gone. It's just you and your anger. Oh, golden boy, don't act like you were kind. You're mine, but you were awful every time. So don't tell them what you told me. Don't hold me like you know me. I would rather love forever, but you should know that I died slow, running through the halls of your haunted home. And the toughest part is that we both know what happened to you, why you're out on your own. Merry Christmas, please don't call. You really left me on the line, kid, holding all your baggage. You know I'm not your father. It says welcome to your outside. All the flickers like a street light. You flickers through your damage. Oh, golden boy, shine a light on your home. And at your best, you are magic of a soul. Don't tell them what you told me. Don't even tell them that you know me. I would rather hurt forever. You should know that I died slow, running through the halls of your haunted home. And the toughest part is that we both know what happened to you, why you're out on your own. Merry Christmas, please don't call.
Oh, I love this. Sounds like kind of like a little Depeche Mode, little Erasure action, little late 80s action. That's totally my vibe, personally speaking. But sad Christmas tune, new one to add to your list. The Bleachers, Merry Christmas, Please Don't Call. Very cool. Someone already wrote in with some feedback after Chloe's piece there about sad Christmas tunes, just reminding us, in her opinion, Melissa Steele said, the best sad Christmas song of all time, still the Fairy Tale of New York from the Pogues. So happy holidays to all. Melissa writing into us today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for writing. And thanks for staying with us here on CBC. Time now is 10 to 8 on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube.
Breaking news happens anywhere, anytime.
Police have warned the protesters repeatedly, get back.
CBC News brings the story to you as it happens.
Hundreds of wildfires are burning.
Be the first to know what's going on and what that means for you and for Canadians.
This situation has changed very quickly.
Helping make sense of the world when it matters most. Stay in the know. CBC News.
Time right now is 10 to 8 on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and YouTube, as I've been mentioning. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team here at Information Radio. Now, from sad songs to joyful things, coming up after 8 o'clock, if the Nutcracker is one of your holiday traditions, you're going to want to stay tuned, because after 8, we're going to talk to a 10-year-old who plays one of the angels in the show and is pretty excited about it. And of course, so we're going to talk to her all about her big moment coming up on stage. It's minus 20 in the city. Things are mainly clear this Friday morning, and we'll have lots of sunshine and a high of minus 18 in our forecast for the city of Winnipeg today. Well, we have a follow now to a story we first started hearing about yesterday on CBC. It's the story of 29-year-old Jeremy Bray, who lives with spinal muscular atrophy, or SMA. He says the province is refusing to pay for treatment that could improve his quality of life and reverse the damage caused by the disease.
Ultimately, I'm going to be a greater burden on the healthcare system. I won't be independent. I'll be living on assistance. I'll be in the hospital more as my respiratory system gets compromised, and then they'll have to deal with those additional costs.
That is Jeremy Bray there. Now, he has very limited mobility already. He can only really move his left thumb, which is critical. And he's really, as you can imagine, scared to lose that. It would change things drastically. Now, Manitoba will only pay for the drug that could help him, or some even say reverse some of the symptoms, if the patient is under 25 years old. Because they say of research that's been done so far. So Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera says the province is, quote, more than willing to meet with Jeremy, end quote. Meantime, national advocacy group Cure SMA Canada says the drug required to treat the disease is expensive. When broken down, the cost of risdiplam, by the way, works out to roughly $1,000 a day. But some other provinces, as we learned yesterday in Ian Fraser's piece, do cover this, including Quebec. Susie Vanderwyck has been advocating for Jeremy for many years. She's the executive director of Cure SMA Canada. She's also herself a mother of a young woman who lives with SMA in British Columbia, and she joins us early on Zoom to talk more about this. Good morning.
Good morning.
So tell us a little bit about what it's like for you as a parent of an adult child now with SMA. What comes up for you when you reflect on the barriers that Jeremy and his family are up against here in Manitoba?
This is a very serious disease, and it's very impactful on the entire family. When we receive a diagnosis, and at the time when Jeremy and my daughter Holly were diagnosed, we were told there's no treatment and nothing we can do to stop the progression of this disease, which was eventually going to take our children. With SMA, you have mental capacity your entire life. That is completely normal, but physically, it's a degeneration of the nerves, and a person gets weaker and weaker with time. So they end up in a power wheelchair because they don't have the strength to push themselves in a manual wheelchair. Depending on the strength they started with, as the executive director, many of the patients that had more severe form of the disease, we're sending out newly diagnosed packages and following them up with end-of-life packages. For those of us that have watched a slower deterioration, like Jeremy and Holly, it's really difficult. It's difficult to watch other families go through it, and for ourselves to watch our child lose function that they've had.
I know that our conversation will be shorter than I'd like this morning. We had some challenges technically hooking up, so I apologize if I get through the questions quickly, but I really critically want to understand how impactful the drug has been for your daughter and what difference it's made for her life.
Okay, so when the treatment became available for Holly, who is a couple of years younger than Jeremy, so she was 25 years old when the drug came available, which was just under the wire for age of able to access risdiplam. She was going for her undergrad in university, and it took her almost 3 times as long to achieve her undergrad. When she started treatment, and this is the same with patients who are also on Spinraza, the other treatment for adults, that the disease is progressively, it is stopped, and the progression is stopped, and it actually reverses some of the effects of the disease. So, for example, Holly, when she went for her teaching degree, she took an accelerated program, and she is now a teacher of a grade 3 class. class here in BC. I know somebody in Saskatchewan who was counting on her husband to help her with all of her personal care. She's on Spinreza. And that it absolutely reversed the effects. She is now doing all of her own personal care. She is baking for the family. She's taking care of their son. A complete turnaround. She crawled again. And this is unheard of for somebody to hold themselves in a crawling position. It's an amazing transformation. These treatments are safe and they are effective, and people are accessing them all around the world. We're the only G7 country in the world not providing these two treatments broadly for all patients. It's unacceptable.
So when we hear the government here has talked about, that they've been leaning on the science that says that it's understood to be, these drugs are understood to be effective in 25 and under. And not in adults. What's your response to that when you look at what's happening in other places?
The exact same data was supplied to Canada that was supplied to the rest of the world. And in spite of that, the rest of the world, so these countries that provided access, they still continue to collect data on those patients so that they could provide more and more proof of the value of these treatments. So we see patients and they have the data that is published that is supporting these patients' access to the treatment. That data was supplied to Canada, and it's called real-world evidence. So when the Canadian Drug Agency, who is working on behalf of the provinces to assess drugs, looked at that data, they did not have the ability at that time to process real-world evidence, so it was denied. So the provinces that are standing by that negative recommendation, when we have ample evidence all over the world to support adults of all ages to access these treatments, it's a cop-out. We know that it's challenging for provinces to approve expensive treatments. We also know that there's support in place for the provinces. For example, the federal drug strategy funds that the federal government is providing to the provinces. $1.5 billion is being supplied to the provinces from the federal government to support access to treatment for rare diseases. That's in place. We know that the drug companies have worked out negotiations with the provinces. So that black box, we can't see inside, but we do know that these supports are in place for them.
Thank you very much for talking to us and giving us more insight into this, Susie, from your point of view. Really valuable conversation to add to our coverage today. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is Susie Vanderwyk. She joined us this morning from Chilliwack, BC. She's the executive director of Cure SMA Canada and the mother of a woman who is accessing this treatment. And as you heard, living a much fuller life because of it. If you want to read more on the story, please do go to our website. The province of Manitoba says there were 6 patients receiving these drugs at a cost of just over $4 million, in case you're wondering, for 2023-24. But as we've heard here, they would all be patients that are under 25. Let's get to what's going on otherwise in our news this morning with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, Manitoba's confirmed its first case of avian flu in 2024. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says the disease was detected at a commercial poultry operation in Portage-la Prairie last month. And Brandon police can now detain more than twice as many prisoners in their expanded jail. The mayor, Jeff Fawcett, says the new space will help with overall community safety. More news at 8:30.
Have a bit of a bright with a young woman who's going to be in the Nutcracker.
With Tom Power. If you were in your high school play and it was something like Guys and Dolls or Oklahoma, well, for Robert Eggers, he staged a theater version of the 1922 Dracula film Nosferatu. Robert's achieved his dream and has made a film remake of that classic horror film. He'll be here to tell you all about it.
I'm ready.
That's coming up on Q, followed by Commotion with Elamine Abdelmahmoud on CBC Radio 1, the CBC Listen app, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
Canada geese might be something of a national symbol, but they are also a honking nuisance. In Lethbridge, Alberta, they've come up with a plan, something called the Gooseinator, the latest technological innovation to try to get rid of geese. It's coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. What a week it's been in Ottawa, and even though it's the Friday before the holidays, things aren't slowing down. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's major cabinet shuffle is going ahead today, and we're waiting to hear from Trudeau himself about whether he'll respond to calls for his resignation. Janice McGregor is in our Parliamentary Bureau. Janice, we know this cabinet shuffle involves 10 different people. The first two names we have are interesting. Tell us about them.
John, David McGuinty, who's expected to be sworn in as Public Safety Minister, he's a very experienced set of political hands. Since 2017, he's served as the first and only to date chair of Parliament's National Security and Intelligence Committee. Now he's taking over as the minister responsible for Canada's intelligence agencies mere weeks before Justice Marie-Josée Ugg's final report and recommendations are set to be released. If urgent action is required to act on the findings of that inquiry, it's going to fall to him. Nathaniel, or Nate Erskine-Smith, was elected in his Toronto riding as part of the class of 2015, and he gained a reputation as a bit of a rebel, not always falling in line with the rest of the Liberal caucus. He ran unsuccessfully for the leadership of the Ontario Liberal Party last year, and on the heels of that, he'd suggested he wouldn't run again federally because it was taking a toll on his family. But when rumors began circulating about him being offered the critical housing portfolio if he'd changed his mind, he said this about joining cabinet.
If you reflect on, what difference you're able to make in a substantial role on an important issue that affects so many Canadians, maybe there's a better balance there.
So, Janice, normally a substantial cabinet shuffle tells us about the Prime Minister's vision for the future. But today, this Prime Minister's future is very much in doubt.
Indeed. Veteran MP John McKay has worked with and for Justin Trudeau for over a decade, but here's what he told Power and Politics last night about the decisions the Prime Minister's making.
His perception, after 50 years of living in a political aristocratic bubble, is different than the reality that you and I live in. It enables him to do extraordinary things, but it also leaves a bit of a blind spot. So where others might see peril, he sees opportunity.
The Prime Minister may not say anything at all to reporters today, but today's cabinet choices may be carefully scrutinized for any signals about where things are heading.
Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
Tune into CBC Radio for live coverage of the Trudeau government cabinet shuffle today at 12 noon Eastern. Join CBC's Tom Harrington and Catherine Cullen from the House for analysis on CBC Radio or stream it live on any CBC News app. The U.S. Congress is facing a midnight deadline to avoid a government shutdown.
Two-thirds not being in the affirmative, the rules are not suspended and the bill is not passed.
A revised spending plan endorsed by Donald Trump failed to reach the votes needed to pass the House of Representatives last night. The president-elect and Elon Musk derailed an earlier deal by Republican House Speaker that he'd struck with Democrats. Without an agreement, many government departments will run out of money tonight. The CBC's Richard Madden is in Washington. Richard, tell us more about what happened last night.
Yeah, it's strike two for House Republicans, and this time more than 36 lawmakers in their own party voted against a plan to keep the government open until next spring that was backed by incoming President Donald Trump. So this means the U.S. is now on the brink of a government shutdown at midnight tonight unless a new deal is reached. Now, the initial plan that was agreed upon by both parties was set to pass until Trump and billionaire Elon Musk, who Trump tapped to cut government spending, called it a steal of tax dollars and even threatened Republicans with their political careers if they supported it. So dozens of Republicans got the message and came up with a pared-down version. But that, too, was rejected. Frustration is building on both sides of the aisle. Even some Republicans are questioning Musk's growing power in their party. Here's Republican lawmaker Rick McCormick.
Last time I checked, Elon Musk doesn't have a vote in Congress. Now, he has influence, and he'll put pressure on us to do whatever he thinks the right thing is for him. But I have 760,000 people that voted for me to do the right thing for them.
Now, Trump also wanted Republicans to raise the amount of money the government can borrow, but that was rejected by hardline conservatives.
So, Richard, what happens next?
Lawmakers literally have just hours to come up with a new spending plan, or it's lights off at 12:01. This would prevent the government from paying its bills, including paying millions of federal workers right before the Christmas break. So the clock is ticking for them to reach a deal.
Richard Madden in Washington. Thanks, Richard.
You bet.
Doctors at a hospital in BC are ringing the alarm about extreme overcrowding. Abbotsford Regional Hospital is so packed, there are patients in the hallways and on stretchers for extended periods of time. As Benit Braich reports, It's leading to a troubling lack of privacy.
Patients having no option but to use a commode or to go to the bathroom in front of other patients.
Inside the Abbotsford Regional Hospital, doctors are sounding the alarm for congestion in the emergency room and medical wards. Dr. Michael Newton has been an ER physician for 32 years in Abbotsford. He credits staff for doing their best, but says overcrowding is the worst he's seen. Data from BC's Ministry of Health shows the hospital has been operating at 128.4% capacity for 2023-2024. In one ward,
the nurses are changing patients as the general public are walking by because they don't have privacy walls.
That's Dr. Susan Cooper, a kidney specialist. She says that ward has often had up to 15 patients in the hallways since May.
Well, my heart is broken.
Doctors say the situation is getting worse for several reasons, including not enough beds or space and a growing and aging population in the Fraser Valley. Dr. David Liu is the hospital's medical director.
We have significant demands as a result of many complex issues.
He says Fraser Health, the local health authority, is taking action, including a $30 million investment in the hospital and the addition of 236 full-time staff. Plus, a new long-term care facility will add 91 new beds. Benit Brach, CBC News, Abbotsford, British Columbia.
The federal government is expected to make an offer today in a landmark case involving First Nations on the northern shore of Lake Superior. It's a familiar issue for many such communities across the country. The 1850 Robinson Treaty promised annual payments from the Crown in exchange for the right to extract resources on the land. But for the last 150 years, the payments have been $4 a person. Anya Dufour explains.
We will not accept the lowball offer.
Like the members of her First Nation, Manitoba Cotton Chief Patricia Tangi is anxious to reach a deal with Ontario and Canada. She wants to end this legal battle over fair annuities that has now spanned more than 2 decades. At the center of the case is a promise that annual payments to the First Nations would increase over time, but they've been capped at $4 per person per year since 1874. If the settlement offers don't live up to the dozens of billions of dollars Robinson Superior Treaty Anishinaabe expect, the matter will return before the courts, a scenario that wouldn't be good news for the Crown, according to Brian Gover, one of the lawyers for the First Nations.
Ontario is risking an award from the court that would be higher by not negotiating.
In its landmark June decision, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Great Lakes Anishinaabe, saying the federal and provincial governments had made a mockery of the Robinson treaties. The top court gave the Crown until January 26 to reach a settlement. Gover says the First Nations will put pressure on the governments as the deadline approaches.
We'll hold the Crown's feet to the fire here.
Ontario argues it actually lost $11 billion by building infrastructure across Robinson Superior territory, while First Nations say the government made up to $193 billion through 174 years of mining, fishing, and logging. The provincial and federal governments will only say negotiations are confidential. Aya Dufour, CBC News, Sudbury.
And finally, in London last night. The crowd at the O2 Arena wasn't going wild for the headliner Sir Paul McCartney, but for the other surviving Beatle, Ringo Starr, who was walking on stage.
Should we rock? You only rock. Okay, get on your kit, la.
Yes, the roadies had rolled out the kit. Ringo goes behind the kit, and they all break into a rendition of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and then Helter Skelter. Well, it was the last night of McCartney's tour, which saw the 82-year-old play in France, Spain, and Brazil. And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio live on CBC. It's going to be a restless day out there. Busy, last day of school. Welcome to Friday. Thanks for joining us. You're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. Our team's been feeling festive this morning. The forecast is cold, and we have a lovely interview for you this half hour on Information Radio. Sugar plum fairies, mice, and angels. Can you guess what I'm talking about? They're some of the characters that you see on stage at the Nutcracker, and they're going to be on stage again in Winnipeg this beautiful holiday season. We're going to talk to a 10-year-old who plays one of the angels and is pretty excited to make her debut this weekend in that role, that is. She's been in Nutcracker before. So stay tuned. We'll have that conversation. Of course, we'll have some music. Stay with us. Heather Wells is here with our headlines now. Let's go to our news center this morning and find out what's developing as the sun comes up.
Good morning. Well, the effects of a cyber attack at Pembina Trail School Division continue taking a toll on teachers and students alike. One teacher tells CBC most schools in Pembina Trails have no internet at all, and staff have lost access to files, lesson plans, and tools to assess students. Students say they too are impacted. We'll hear how coming up. And Brandon police are sounding the alarm on a toxic drug supply in that city. They say overdose deaths have doubled since 2022, from 3 deaths that year to 7 so far in 2022. We'll hear from an advocate in our next local news at 8:30.
All right, thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Let's get into what else is happening here. Abby Adeyemi has our very cold forecast.
Yeah, it's going to be harsh today. Extreme cold and dangerous wind chills in the forecast. It's even going to make it feel colder than the actual temperatures across the province. Winnipeg and the Red River Valley region, we're looking at temperatures around -20 at this point. We should see the sun make its appearance soon, then becoming a mix of sun and clouds by the noon period. Light winds would see highs around -18. The wind chill this morning for the city will feel like -37. So you want to bundle up because there's a risk of frostbite in play. And that's the similar condition that we'll be seeing in the central region, Westman, Parkland, Interlake region. Temperatures will be around -37. But up north, we're seeing wind chills feeling like -41 in Churchill at this time with some light snow. Overall, the province will be frigid this morning, my friend.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
See how he added in that, my friend? So we still like him because everybody always blames the weather person. All right, let's get into the morning commute with Corey Funk.
Yeah, it's been a pretty quiet commute actually overall this morning. I imagine a lot of folks are in holiday mode already, probably sitting home in their pajamas. But for the folks who are out there on the roads, there's just one thing to keep an eye out for, and that's at Chief Pegos and La Jamaudière. There's actually a stalled semi in that southbound shoulder lane on La Jamaudière. So it's not really blocking anything, but it might catch you off guard. So just heads up there, it's flashing its lights. But if you see anything else going on out there, give me a call on the CBC commuter line, whether you're walking, biking, driving. Would love to hear from you. The number 204-788-3093.
Previously stepped away from federal politics to run unsuccessfully for the Ontario Liberal leadership. Erskine Smith will now take the federal housing portfolio following the resignation of another high-profile cabinet minister this week, Sean Fraser. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Ottawa.
And you can tune in to CBC Radio for live coverage of the Trudeau government cabinet shuffle today at 11 o'clock Central Time. Join CBC's Tom Harrington and Catherine Cullen from the House for analysis of that cabinet shuffle. The shuffle itself happens at 10:30 Central Time. The effects of a cyber attack at Pembina Trail School Division continue taking a toll on teachers and students alike. One teacher tells CBC most schools in the division have no internet whatsoever, and staff have lost access to files, lesson plans, and tools for assessing students. Sebastian Kelly is a grade 10 student at Shaftesbury High. He says teachers are doing their best to adapt, and some systems have been restored, but he still feels his education has suffered a setback.
How are we going to finish our work for more tech-focused classes? How are we going to finish our work? Even some teachers were like, sorry, we can't do nothing today.
The division yesterday revealing the personal information of students as far back as 2014 had been accessed by an unauthorized third party. It says a separate database containing staff payroll information may also have been accessed. Brandon police say that city is seeing a spike in overdoses. Overdose fatalities have doubled in the last 2 years, from 3 deaths in 2022 to 7 so far in 2024. Solange Machado is Brandon's Manitoba Harm Reduction Senior Coordinator. She says illicit drugs are becoming more dangerous because they can be more potent or have unexpected chemicals like sodium or herbicides. Machado says a community effort is needed to keep people safe.
Having more service providers downtown who are knowledgeable and have the education on what's the current trends of overdose, and having more organizations open longer hours and just to be aware what to look for, all of that helps.
Machado says to stay safe, people need to watch for drug alerts. They need to carry naloxone, test drugs before using, and never use alone. Manitoba has confirmed its first case of avian flu this year. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says the disease was detected at a commercial poultry operation in Portage-la Prairie last month. Similar cases have been recorded since 2022. The virus, also known as H5N1, is highly transmissible among domestic birds. It has also, however, spread to mammals. Among people, the Public Health Agency of Canada says the risk is higher for those who have unprotected exposure to infected animals. Brandon police have more than doubled the number of jail cells in that city. The Brandon Police Service Detention Facility can now house 17 people at a time in new cells. The deputy chief expects to see anywhere from 4 to a dozen people housed overnight.
Some is just simply a safe place for them to be getting sober, and others are facing charges, so they'll appear for bail hearings in the morning, and courts will decide whether they hold them in custody, and if that's the case, they'll be transferred to Brandon Correctional Centre.
The expansion took 2 years of construction using $8.6 million in provincial funding. Greg Hebert, the deputy chief, says it was needed after an agreement with Brandon Correctional Centre to hold detainees ended in April of 2020. Police have been using these new cells since September, and the facility fully opened last week. You can find more news updated throughout the day. Just head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you, Heather Wells.
You're welcome.
So obviously on our list of thank yous to our news department, Heather Wells, Megan Ketchison, who I've worked with for so many years, and also to out there today, Alana Cole is working in our news department. Big thanks to everyone. Hey, we were asking about favorite childhood memories to win tickets to the Nutcracker. We got this call.
Hello, my name is Una Muller, and when I was in 3rd grade, I got stuck on the monkey bars and the recess bell rang, and I got so scared. My friends all crowded me, and then finally I got down, but it was very nerve-wracking.
Sometimes you need a little help from your friends. Thanks for calling. By the way, we'll close at noon today. Win at cbc.ca, favorite childhood memory. Maybe you'll be going to the Nutcracker. Abby.
Yeah, we're looking at temperatures across the country really harsh this morning. We're going to be seeing like wind chills in the range of minus 35, 36, 37 across board.
Bundle up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Corey, what do we have to say about the commute?
Chief Peguis and Lagimodiere, there is a stalled semi on the shoulder, so it shouldn't be causing too much of an issue. Slick conditions on the bike lanes, too.
All right. So there's a cabinet shuffle special highlighting whatever's going to happen today in Ottawa, obviously. So that is going to be here live. You can hear it on CBC Radio between 11 and 12 today. I want to highlight that. Don't forget about local programming at noon and at 3 to 6 with Up to Speed. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Take care, be well, Manitoba, and we will be back Monday morning with another edition of Information Radio. The Current's coming up next. Have a good weekend.